Traster, it's me, the Sack. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is episode 114, and I hate to say it again, guys, but it's a special episode because we have an exclusive interview with Jesse Camacho from Netflix's hit show, Locke Key. If you're not watching it, I would never tell you to pause us normally, but do it and go check it out. I'm your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Before we get into the show, we have to go around and meet my fellow bros. And as always, we go into the lab first to the mad scientist, Brian Banner. Now, Banner, scientifically speaking, are you drunk?
Scientifically.
Oh, I just thought it was implied that I was always drunk.
But you still wouldn't answer the question?
Well, I didn't realize it was a question. I thought you were just reiterating the fact that you are drunk.
The fans need to know.
That was,
well, guys,
didn't turn out how I wanted it to. I'll take it as you're drunk, basically.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was funnier in my head. I'm not gonna lie.
It was a good effort.
Sometimes you drop a play when we get out on the field, you get a different look from the defense.
Yeah, it's just.
You had fucking Troy Polamalu staying in the C gap.
Next, we go to our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger. Geiger, how many 12-year-olds would it take to defeat you in battle?
12 12-year-olds, 11 11-year-olds, 10 9-year-olds, and 15 5-year-olds.
Why is it less of them as the age gets younger?
Until you get to 5.
Like 11-11-year-olds? That's less than 12. I don't understand.
Let's just say I know more about children than you do.
Is it because you hold back when you're fighting an 11-year-old versus?
I mean, I guess it's probably like working out. After you fight all of them, even though they're 5-year-olds, you know, the weight gets heavier the more you work out.
It's like burnouts.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like suicides.
So Matt has like 12-year-olds line up, kicks the shit out of him, give him like a quick water break.
This is his 12 days of Christmas every year. This is how he gets ready for the holiday season.
That's how I work out in quarantine. Fight cats.
Yeah, but you should need a social distance from those kids.
They're not in school. They don't have shit to do.
We're all wearing masks and gloves. It's fine. We've all had our temperature taken before we kick the shit out of each other.
We're not animals. Jesus. All right, lastly, we go to our American hero, Nate Thurmond. Nate, do you prescribe to the theory from the Old Testament of the Bible that says, quote, no blood, no foul?
Yeah, I believe that was Ephesians 8:8. It's kind of what the NBA lived by in the 90s. So, yeah, no blood, no foul. Prison rules.
That was when Peter drove the lane and called the ticky-tack foul on Jesus. And he straight up said, we're writing this down now.
Yeah, we're not using
Pretty sure that's the 11th commandment as well.
It shouldn't even have to be written down. It should just be...
Yeah, whenever Moses brought the tablets down, he kind of chipped off 11. He tripped on the way down, and no one ever knew about it.
Well, Moses was a finesse player, so he was probably an accident.
Also had a drinking problem.
All right, we digest.
Let's not get too religious.
We start every episode off with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is chess day. And today is a special chess day. Nate Thurmond and I got to sit down and talk with Jesse Camacho, who's an actor in the Netflix series Locke Key. And if you're listening to this podcast and you watch the type of shit that we watch on Netflix, Netflix has probably recommended the show to you. So before we turn it over to the interview, Nate, anything you want to tease about what Jesse said or just about the show in general for those people out there that might not be familiar with it?
Yeah, I mean, speaking with people in the general public about this show and kind of getting their general consensus on it, I think it may be perceived as maybe a lower age demographic, but as you'll find out when you listen to this interview with Jesse, it goes across several different genres. It's got some lightheartedness to it, but there's actually some pretty dark moments in it that I would say would borderline be 18 plus, the way some of these scenes are shot and everything. So don't hesitate if you're on the fence on watching this. I would say go watch it right now.
Yeah, put the kids to bed. It's adult time.
Yep.
All right, so without further ado, here is Nate and mine's interview with Jesse Camacho from Netflix's Locke Key. Jeff Hornacek and Nate Thurmond here with a very special guest, Jesse Camacho, actor from Netflix's Locke Key, the hit series that if you listen to this podcast, it's probably come up on your recommended, or hey, check this out because you liked this. So before we dive into it, Jesse, thanks so much for coming on the pod with us, man. We're excited to have you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
So we have to get started just to give people a little bit of background on you. You are a native Canadian. You were born in Quebec. And one thing Nate and I wanted to ask you right off the top, you've probably worked a lot with Americans, both like in the industry and then just in life. Is it true that Canadians are way nicer than us? And if so, can I just apologize for any rude American that you may have stumbled across in your work?
Well, that's a very Canadian thing that you just did by apologizing. I guess I've been super fortunate. I haven't had any like horrible experiences, and everyone seems kind of nice to me. I think that just Canadians, it's kind of bred into them to, I would guess, apologize a little bit more, or maybe to be extra cautious in their politeness. But I have had no problem with any like rude Americans. So you guys are all good in my book.
There's probably some American out there saying like, man, we really dropped the ball then. Like, we have a reputation to live up to.
I know. Season 2, everyone's going to be super rude.
Now, do you feel like you being maybe stamped as a Canadian and being overly polite, has that worked as an advantage or a disadvantage in your life?
Ooh, it's probably an advantage, if anything. I feel like when I go someplace now and I say I'm Canadian, people brighten up a lot more. They're like, oh, okay, this person's not going to give us any problem. And if you phrase something politely, you can get away with a lot more. So,
there you go.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would say, been more of an advantage than anything else.
Nice.
Strategy I should try.
Yeah, exactly. Niceness makes the world go around, right?
Very good. So you're probably too modest to mention this, but you actually won a Canadian Comedy Award for your show that you were in earlier in your life, Less Than Kind, which some of our American listeners may have not heard of, but it was a huge hit in Canada, ran for 4 seasons, was nominated for like a billion things. So first off, huge congrats on that. Very successful in Canada. Can you kind of talk to your experience with that and how it led into you landing your role for Locke Key?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely the experience that shaped me the most as an actor and as a person even. Just getting to, build a camaraderie like that with that group of people over the course of, it was 4 seasons over 5 years. And we got really close. We had a lot that went down too. That show had more lives than a cat. It was a great show. It was a critical darling. It had modest success up in Canada, but I think it survived more on its quality than its following. It was just I guess like really learning how to be a team player and pass the ball and learning to really trust your castmates. I kind of missed that. And whereas on Less Than Kind, I was sort of the central figure of the show. It was really an ensemble, but my character was sort of the central guy. So going into Locke Key, I was a little nervous because joining, a cast is much different when you're kind of coming in as a bit more of a peripheral character. I was kind of nervous how I would be received, but oh my God, like I thought I was really nice on Less Than Kind. They blew me out of the water on Locke Key. They're like the nicest, kindest people over there. So yeah, it was really cool, but it definitely prepared me, especially, keeping continuity with character. It's fun as an actor as well.
That's really awesome.
One thing I was going to tell everybody out there, if you aren't familiar with the show, just go look up, Nate was telling me about this before the pod, the trailer for it on YouTube is enough of a selling point. It's a hilarious scene where you're at a dinner with your family and a family argument break. Nate, you want to describe it? You'll probably do it better justice than I do.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Like that first opening scene of the trailer I watched of it just like had me hooked. I'm going to try and see if I can find it somewhere so I can binge through it.
It's on Prime. I think the first season is on Amazon Prime. I could be wrong on that. It might be, maybe that's just in Canada. But it's weird because we changed networks. The show was on City TV in Canada, and then it switched to HBO Canada for season 2, 3, and 4. So that's why it's kind of tricky to find because, I think there's ownership issues. But the first season I believe is on Amazon Prime.
I'll definitely have to look into that. But yeah, that opening scene, there's a big argument at the dinner table, and then all of a sudden Jesse stands up and says, "Guys, I'm on a date." It's just so deadpan and awesome. It was fantastic. It had me cracking up.
Oh man, yeah, thanks. That was I remember shooting that late into the day, and we were all laughing. And the guy who plays my brother had to stuff his face with potatoes in that scene. And
he's like, again?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he's had a potato since, because I think he was sick after that. But yeah, man, that was good times.
That's awesome.
I'm sure there was like if I was on set, I'd be like, I can stand in and eat some carbs real quick. I'm good at it if you needed it.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to eat a ton, but I was sitting there and the food looked so good. I was like, screw this. I'm just gonna pig out. But what you do in take 1, you've got to do in take 30 when they go around the table and get everyone's coverage. So I think that's when everyone was sort of like, oh God, wait a minute.
Well,
I mean, it was.
Speaking of that, before we dive into Locke and Key, which again was fantastic, and Nate and I have some really fun questions for you on that one. But you've done TV and film, and we're always curious. We've had a couple actors on this show, and to hear the process between shooting, a single camera television show and both the production schedule and the budget. What is that difference like between TV and film? Because I'll be honest, Locke and Key is in terms of the special effects and the visuals and the cinematography looks and feels like basically a big budget $100 million movie. But I can imagine the rigorous schedule and like how long you have to be on set. I mean, to churn something like this out must be a lot more strenuous than, a feature film, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in comparison, like I'm trying to think of the biggest budget movie I was involved in. I did a small day on Kick-Ass 2, and that felt pretty big. Locke and Key, I would think, is the biggest thing I felt I was involved in. And yeah, television is kind of famous for its rigorous schedules and quick turnarounds, and we got to get it. And there was a taste of that. But with Locke and Key, it really felt like Netflix had a lot of faith in it. And again, I hope that don't at me, guys, in Netflix for saying this, but it felt like we had quite a bit of time. There was a rushed element, but because there was no set air date, I feel like for those stream shows when they can kind of pick and choose when they want to release them, that allows for a little more time in the shooting schedule. Because it did feel there were definitely days where we felt rushed and we had to get it done, but in general, it felt more like a film in its production. I definitely felt that we had time, it could be more ambitious with the stuff that we had to do. Whereas on Less Than Kind, we had air dates and it was obviously a lower budget show. And we had days where we were shooting like a lot of pages and we were super stressed. Whereas Locke and Key, it felt like we really had time to really dig in and do good. So Locke and Key almost felt like more like a feature to me.
And it shows, I think, like aesthetically especially, it has this feel like it's something about the visceral nature of Matheson, the way it's captured, looks like a feature film that I'm watching. And speaking of Netflix, I was saying at the top, they recommended the show to me, which they usually get it right. Like at this point, I think Netflix has enough of a sample size, except for my fiance who watches like 800 episodes of Grey's Anatomy on my account. And it kind of skews the formula. And Nate and I were kind of talking this past week, and we were sort of describing the show as like a mix of Stranger Things and maybe like Clue, almost. How would you describe it? Like if someone out there has seen it probably pop up, but they don't exactly know what the show's about, because it does kind of cross a couple genres. When people ask you all the time, hey, what is Locke and Key? Like, what's kind of your description of what it is?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I definitely throw Stranger Things in there. That's the first one that I usually mention. I think the reason that it's a little, I don't want to say the word scattered because I feel like that has a negative connotation, but while I guess it may be a little harder to pinpoint, is because it kind of crosses a lot of demographics. You've got the great kind of kid Stranger Things stuff with Jackson's character Bodhi, and a little with Connor and Amelia's character too. And then you've got the adult stuff with Darby, and you've got a bit of kind of young adult romance stuff at the high school, all in this kind of world. So I usually say Clue's a good one. I never thought about that. I usually say Stranger Things with a little bit of like a, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, a little bit of that, and like a pinch of like Riverdale or like some kind of young adult show. You throw all those in a blender and you kind of get Locke and Key.
Yeah, I know a lot of the people who I've talked to about on the show, that's the kind of the feel they get. Maybe they've seen it on Netflix or whatever. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe like a 13, 14, 15 year old range. I'm like, there's actually some pretty dark stuff in this. Not to give any spoilers
can we talk
away.
Spoilers? Oh, okay, I was gonna say, what's the cutoff? I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
That's up to you. I think what we can say now maybe is if you haven't seen Locke and Key yet, pause it. Go back and watch it, because now we're going to get into spoilers. And Nate and I watched the whole thing in like a day and a half. So
yeah,
it's very
hell
good.
Yeah.
So from
nice.
this point on, we're going to take the reins off. So
yeah, now that we've gone to the spoilers, when the little kid gets thrown and gets run over by a train, I mean, me and my wife saw that and we were like, okay, I guess this is the direction we're going.
Yeah, it's like really, there's moments of like crazy darkness, which I think are more lifted from the graphic novels, which are insane. The graphic novels are incredible, but they're insanely dark. Like they are crazy dark.
I was looking them up on Amazon because I don't think I knew it was based on a graphic novel till I caught it in the credits of like episode 3, and I was like, oh well, now I have. I mean, especially till season 2 comes out, like that's gonna be what holds me over.
Yeah, the graphic novels and the show doesn't really spoil them because things happen in different order, and there's certain characters like the Savini Squad is not in the graphic novels. There's other characters, and yeah, get ready because like it's different. There's the same DNA, but the graphic novels are a lot gorier and a lot more swearing and stuff like that. They're great. They're both like just different versions of the same thing. It's awesome.
Nice. So, yes, speaking of the Savinis, kind of going to our next part here. Your character is Doug, who's part of the Savinis. And usually try not to throw too many spoilers out, but we've already given the preface. So anyone who's still listening and hears spoilers, that's your own fault. But this group is basically a bunch of high school kids that sit in their basement and watch old B-film horror movies, and they try and make one of their own with an incredible title, the Splattering or Spattering. Yeah. Well, there's a bit of a mix there.
Yes.
I think one will be like the European title, the other will be like.
Exactly.
And so that's something, I mean, a lot of people listening or that are going to watch the show can relate to. Hang out with your high school friends in the basement, wherever you may be. What kind of drew you to that character, knowing that you guys were really kind of the anchor of the show, in creating kind of a reality for the people watching it, making it more accessible for people?
Yeah, I mean, the character is really not far from me. I've been super lucky that way. Less Than Kind, it was the same kind of thing. It's just a different version of me. But, you know, I've sat in the basement, watched horror movies. My buddy Alex and I, we watched Scream 1 and 2 on his birthday every year. I wore my Pennywise the Clown T-shirt to the audition. So like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge horror movie buff. And you know, it's funny. We got in a very jokey way. I think the Savinis get some flack on social media for being very ineffective amateur filmmakers, and my response is yes, they absolutely are. That's the whole point. Like, I remember being in high school wanting to make movies, and all the movies I made sucked. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, and
but that's their charm,
using a hockey stick with the camera. Exactly. So I totally relate to them. I was these kids in high school. I shouldn't really say that I'm about to turn 29 playing a 17-year-old, but you know, that's the case. So I very much related to him.
That's awesome.
To that point, the Savinis, I like, not just because I knew we were going to get the chance to talk to you, but I kept wanting more of them because they, like Nate said, were the part that like really, in a show that does have a lot of genre in it, which is incredible, but that's sort of what makes it, you know, relatable to people is your guys' dynamic. And Patrice, played by Scott Cavendish, ended up becoming one of my favorite characters in the show, especially with sort of the interesting arc towards the end that I didn't see coming. And you guys had some great back and forth. Really just the whole Savini crew, but you two specifically. So I was wondering, especially in the scene where Eden quits and she's a diva, that's probably my favorite scene of yours in the show. But I can imagine, like, the production schedule of shooting a show, you guys might not get as much time as fellow cast members to typically hang out together either before shooting starts or even in between takes, because, you know, sometimes you do need to get a 10-episode slate in X number of months. So how did you guys sort of hit the ground running in that regard? Because the Savinis in the show really do feel like you guys have all known each other since like 4th grade.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I was, you know, it's funny. The first question that I had when I got cast was who else is in this? Because you're absolutely right. Establishing a chemistry to me is the most important thing. That's kind of the thing I like the most about acting is the teamwork aspect to it, is, you know, passing the ball back and forth. But funnily enough, I actually couldn't go to the rehearsal because I was shooting something else at the time, and I was really nervous about that. I was like, I'm going to get – and the Savini Squad stuff, just by schedule, was at the very kind of end of the shooting schedule of the first block. They shot episode 1 and 2 together. And the Savini Squad stuff, where I think it was the last 2 or 3 days of that block, so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get to set. Everyone knows each other but me. You know,
they're going to have inside jokes.
Exactly. I'm the
new kid in school.
Exactly. Like, even Asha, who plays Zadie, she was at least at the read-through. So I was like, you know, I don't know anybody. And one night I was at a bar with my friends kind of complaining about this. And one of my buddies, Katie, put me in my spot. She's like, hey, buddy, you have a job. Like, be happy. And I was like, a very good point. So I was at this bar complaining to my buddies. And, you know, long story short, we kind of noticed this, like, cute girl at the bar. And, you know, one of my friends wanted to go talk to her. and I'd had a couple too many, and I was like, I'll show you how it's done. And I
All
went
been
up and I
there.
had I had a very pleasant conversation with this like really beautiful girl at the bar. Nothing happened or anything. And the next day I was on Instagram and I realized I'd drunkenly been talking to Halia Jones, who plays Eden. And
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know it was her. And I was like,
You're
oh
like,
my God, I had this opportunity to get to know a cast member. Anyway, I ended up tracking her down and we became really tight. And she said, well, why don't you come to my show? She's a great musician. I went to her show. Patrice was there.
No way.
And Kevin Alves was there, who plays one of Connor's hockey buddies. And so I met them and we hung out that night. So by the time I got to set, I'd already had a bit of a rapport with Patrice. But just kind of sitting there with Amelia and Asha and Griffin and Patrice, and we just sort of were talking. We hadn't even rehearsed the scene yet. We all just kind of looked at each other. We're like, all right, I think we're good. Like we just liked each other and clicked, and we got each other's rhythms, and it was easy, and we're still really close. Like we have a WhatsApp chat and everything. So.
Hey, well, tip of the cap to both you guys and the casting director for just intuitively sensing, hey, I think these guys will click together and have chemistry.
Yeah, thanks. It's just one of those things. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we got lucky.
That's awesome.
Well, that's a crazy story. Also, like meeting at the bar, not knowing about it, waking up the next morning.
Middle of Toronto, randomly. Like it was just, it was not.
Yeah, not a small city, Toronto.
No, like quite a big city. Like the biggest one in Canada. I think there's like 7 million people in it. And I just started like randomly flirting with Halia Jones one night at the bar. I had a bucket of booze, and I was like, "You want to drink from my bucket?" And she was like, "Oh, okay." And
what an opening line! I love it.
Works 10 out of 10 times.
That's great. So yeah, one of the pivotal scenes for me, really, in the whole series of Locke Key, and I hope this would stay true for everyone, is like the first cave scene is when they go down there. So it really adds a lot to the whole show. And then it obviously leads to some other things later on in the series, but just that scene in itself was very intense. And so I even think there was at some point where my wife was on the edge of her seat.
I was
she
literally
kind of
standing
up on her couch. Yeah.
I was like, get out!
Yeah. So I was really interested in how it was shot, and I'm sure there's a mixture of different things, but how much of it was like on site somewhere, how much was using props, or how much was in a stage somewhere, or how much was using green screen? Obviously the door,
Right.
But anything else that was involved in that?
Well, first of all, I mean, you were saying you were on the edge of your seat watching it. I was reading the script, and I didn't know how long I was going to be on the show for or not. Like, so I thought, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, who's not going to make it out of there? It's Doug. Like, Who are we kidding? Like, But no, that's a great question. That was the funnest week that I've ever had on a set. That was just the coolest. It was like walking into the Goonies, movies I grew up watching. And I was like, oh my God, here I am with all these guys that I couldn't have asked for a better group. But it was a number of things. So the exterior of the caves when we're going down the stairs, that was actually the last shot that I did of the whole show. And that was a little later when we shot in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. It's a real location. The stairs, there's a cool drone shot. That was really fun.
Yeah.
The interior of the caves was a special studio because they had to flood them. And
oh wow, they actually did that.
So cool. Oh yeah. We shot all the stuff with the empty, and then they're like, all right, you're on break. And then we came in and it was full, and oh my God, it was so much fun. It was like the polar opposite of our characters too, because they kept going like, don't get in yet, don't get wet, because if you get wet, we got to change you the whole thing. Right. We're like, nah, we're ready. Like, let's jump in, let's swim around, and like the water was warm. It got dirtier as the week went on because, of all the paint on the rocks and stuff. But yeah, man, it was super cool. But yeah, it was a mix of studio and real kind of live locations.
I don't know if my wife will want me to mention this on pod, but one of the reasons she was probably having a bunch of anxiety is she doesn't know how to swim, which is embarrassing at her age, to say the least. But shooting this,
I'm not a great swimmer either, so she's all good.
Like we've been on many vacations to make sure if there's any water, make sure you got a life jacket on.
Yeah, exactly. That's the safest way to deal with it.
So obviously being in like that tight situation and with the water, was it difficult for you shooting those scenes? Are there any like phobias you have of like drowning, or do you have claustrophobia, or did any of those things play into it, making it difficult for you to actually act in those scenes?
I was a little nervous at first when I first read. I mean, I was super excited to be in the stuff. There's actually some underwater shots that they do of Kinsey and Griffin, who plays Gabe, that they did of us as well.
Mm-hmm.
That it just didn't fit. And also, like, there's so many of us escaping. I think it would have thrown off the pace of the episode. And I was nervous about that. I was like, oh boy, are we gonna be shooting this in like a 30 foot tank, and you go to the bottom, and you're there sometimes for hours on end. But they were super safe, man. We shot that. I think that pool was 5 feet deep, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was super, super secure, super safe. We went a couple days before we shot there. They had us all go in the tank. What's your swimming level? How long can you hold your breath? Are you comfortable with this, comfortable with that? We'll work around anything. They were super great. I never felt, when we were actually shooting it, I never felt ever like in danger or anything like that. I had trepidation going in, but not even that bad. Just about like, how is this going to work? But no, I'm pretty good in the water. My phobia, it's super weird. I have an outer space phobia. Like, I have trouble watching outer space movies.
I have the dreams where I'm just like in gravity, like floating helplessly in space, and I would never end up in that scenario, but I'm with you.
Yeah, so you'd think that open water would freak me out too, but I guess because it was such a safe environment and I could touch the floor the whole time, it just never occurred to me. And we were all joking around and laughing and splashing each other, so it was just a really fun environment.
Yeah, like Nate said, that scene does an awesome job of building the tension. One other scene I want to ask. Sorry.
I was just going to throw this one last little thing in. There's this great moment in the episode where Patrice says, we've got to go now. And I go to take off my shoes, and he yells at me, like, take your bloody shoes, dog. We've got to go. That was literally a last-second addition. We were about to shoot it, and the director of that episode, Mark Tondori, came on. A crew member suggested it to him. And right before we're about to go, he's like, Doug, go to take off your shoes, and just say whatever comes naturally about him taking that time to do that. And because he had a big microphone. And oh my God, we were laughing for days. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in.
It felt very Doug. You're like, they're Air Jordans. You just want me to leave here?
Exactly.
That was great. Speaking of another awesome scene with the Savinis, and this is again just us wanting to peel the curtain back into how this stuff is done because it looks so great. So there's a lot of back and forth with the playfulness and then the darkness in this show, and that's why I think your group of friends is such an important balance to this. And this scene the show does a really good job of covering grounds of both the genres. But one of the darker and disturbing scenes is when you guys are shooting the splattering in the basement and Kinsey gets covered in the fake blood. Obviously, she has like the flashbacks, everything with her dad and all of that. But we were wondering, what was that scene like to shoot on set? Like the sense of urgency, because it is a moment of levity at first, and then it sort of shifts like immediately to this harrowing experience for her. And then also just practically, like, you kind of got to get that right in the first take or second take, because like that's a lot of blood to clean up that's shooting out of the fake Patrice's head.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're exactly right. And Locke Key, there was never any tense moments on set. Everyone loved each other. That scene was probably, and when I say the tensest it got, I don't mean that bad, but yeah, for that exact reason. So yeah, we rehearsed a lot of it. That was only my second day. So the Savini squad stuff was still pretty new. We were still kind of learning our rhythms. We felt good with each other. And that was also Griffin Gluck's first day as Gabe. So he was there in the big Nephropoda outfit. And we did a lot of rehearsal. And it was really, I think, impressive from Amelia, because Amelia's got to kind of go from 0 to 100. She's got to come in and be kind of this, like, seductive actress in the scene, like, oh, Nathaniel, I can't believe you started the whole movie without me. And she sits down, and then she's got to get very emotional. Yeah, I remember the first couple takes was good, but the blood wasn't spewing enough. They wanted the great director, Michael, of the first two episodes, wanted a constant flow. And I don't think that was understood right away. So there'd be this big splatter, and then it would stop. And so we did it a number of times, and I remember the bowl of popcorn Amelia was holding became like soup because more and more blood kept going in. But it turned out really well, and like we got it, and it was fun. I remember they were saying, be careful when the blood starts shooting, close your eyes because you don't want to get it in your eyes. Amelia was a trooper because they would need to reset and do all this stuff, and she would just stay sitting there, keeping that emotion. but also like super approachable. Like I can't do that. She can turn it on and off really, really well. But yeah, there was a lot of kind of technical stuff that went into it. It took up most of the day.
Yeah, that was such an interesting scene because the tone, and rightfully so, like you said, just stops on a dime and shifts and becomes very, very serious in a scene where you're like having a blast, but then it makes sense for the character.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse, the way we like to end all of our interviews is with the segment we call Getting to Bro You, where we ask you just questions that you might not get asked in a lot of the interviews that you do. The first one we're going to ask here, I actually am going to tie back into Locke Key because there is a concept on the show that has kept me up many a sleepless nights wondering how I would handle it. So obviously in the show, the head key gives its user the ability to take things out and put things into their mind or their brain. And of course, Tyler uses this to put like European history knowledge and things about Vikings in his brain. Kinsey used it to remove her fear. I've thought about like what I would do with that key. I would probably, to clear space in my mind, maybe take out some of the useless Pokemon knowledge that I have from when I was 9 or 10. But I want to know, if you had access to the head key, what would you take out or add to give yourself an advantage, or maybe just like change up your approach to life?
Well, I think that I would take out, I wouldn't take out my fear. I'd bring a katana in there and cut it in half. I'm a really bad flyer. Like I have a almost debilitating fear of flying. I do it. So I'd take out some of that for sure. Maybe a bit of my anxiety. Put in, that's a great question. Maybe more motivation. I don't know what motivation looks like, but I try to throw it in there.
You're like protein powders.
Exactly. Like the will to go to the gym. Maybe like languages that I never thought I could speak. Maybe I'd throw some of that in there. That's a great question, though.
That's a good use of it. I should probably focus more on like things that could actually help me in life instead of just removing Pokemon.
Yeah, me and Jeff talked about this off pod.
Yeah, I just talked about going to the gym more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I would do almost what Tyler did in the show. I'd throw a ton of encyclopedias in there because I'm a huge Jeopardy guy. And I just go on Jeopardy and...
God, you'd be so annoying.
Like, I would. You would not want to go to a party with me.
You just watch Jeopardy and get all the answers right, and then get on the show and be a millionaire. So actually, I can see that being very beneficial.
Dang it! Don't side with him, Jesse. Now he's gonna...
But it is annoying too.
There we go. Diplomatic.
Yeah. Getting on with the getting to bro you questions. So one of the things, just to get a little deeper sense of Jesse's. So at the end of the long day shooting Friday night, going out to hang out with your boys, going to eat and drink. So what exactly are you going out? What are you eating? What are you drinking? And then also at the end of the night to wind down, what movie are you throwing on, or what show are you throwing on to relax a little bit?
The show is probably The Office. Maybe Friends as well.
Great choices.
And what?
I mean, just great choices. Like I could watch The Office like 8 times through and not even.
Oh, there's a countless number of times I've restarted The Office. It's up to 8 or 10 times. So right in the same boat with you.
It's so good. Drink of choice, I guess it depends. If I'm on one of my watch your calorie things, then it would be several vodka sodas. If not, God, this is not a healthy answer. Anything with booze in it will suffice.
This is the pod for you, man. This is like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. So it certainly feels that way. And then for food, I mean, my guilty pleasure food is like fried chicken, but I can also just go for, God, I'm a big sandwich guy too. So nice sandwich, a beer or vodka soda, and then throw on The Office and Friends, and I'm all set.
Jeez. Sandwiches are so versatile.
Yes, they are. That's why it's kind of a blanket answer. Like I kind of get to, to say sandwiches, and everyone usually goes like, "Oh yeah, of course, sandwiches."
Yes. Well, it's just like tacos. I think someone recently asked me, "What was your favorite food?" And I said, "I'd sit there and thought for a minute. Tacos. You can have a million different types of tacos."
It scares me how many tacos I could eat in one sitting. Like it would frighten the public if they knew the actual number.
I'm weird though. I like the hard shell. I go hard shell.
Really?
That's my jam. Yeah,
there's something satisfying. Something satisfying about that crunch, though, right? It's like I'm doing this right.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse. Kind of in the same vein. So, if there's only one band or artist that you could listen to for the rest of your life, I made you delete all the other music from your iTunes library, or if you have vinyls, I'm like, give them up. You got to cough them up, man. What's it going to be here?
This is super embarrassing, probably, but well, okay. I'll give you like probably a nice answer. I like Leonard Cohen, so I'd keep some Leonard Cohen, and then, yeah. But my embarrassing answer, the person that appears more frequently on my phone than any other, is Katy Perry. So that's my sort of embarrassing one.
She owned the early aughts. I mean, there's no denying it.
Yeah, she can hype you up.
And that Super Bowl performance, we're huge Left Shark fans on this podcast.
Yeah, she killed it. Like, I've been on the treadmill going, I am a firework, goddammit. So yeah.
The guy next
to me.
You're a firework? Because you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, her collaboration she did with Kanye, E.T. Mm-hmm. Solid stuff.
Yeah, right.
Very solid. So one last one to close out the getting to bro you questions here. So, guilty pleasure movie, or what is a movie that you have to defend to your other boys whenever you say, I really like this movie, and they're going to give you a ton of shit for it, but you say, hey, I'm sticking to my guns. This is my movie I like.
Horrible Bosses 2.
There you go.
You like that one? You like that over one?
I don't know if I like it over one, but I just felt like it to me it's not the perfect sequel. Obviously the perfect sequel is something like Empire Strikes Back or Godfather Part 2, but where it was the same spirit, but it was different. Like they changed it up a little bit. I just thought it was super funny. I thought Chris Pine like really kind of was amazing. Like I don't know. I saw it like 6 times in theaters. So that's for sure.
Super underrated movie line is in Horrible Bosses 2 when Jason Sudeikis is calling Christoph Waltz about how they've kidnapped his son, and he's trying to put on a fake like Kentucky accent and goes, we are going to tie him up with the thickest, coarsest rope in our rope inventory.
Yes, it's fantastic. I really I love Horrible Bosses 2, and I get shit for it.
Is that the one where they're drawing up the plans on the whiteboard and Bateman has accidentally used Sharpie? He's like, God damn it.
Is that a Sharpie? Just emphasize my point, idiots.
And so simple, but so funny.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Mine is a chick flick from a while back, and it's embarrassingly Serendipity with John Cusack. I love that movie for some reason.
It's a nice movie.
It's a nice movie. It's a lovely movie. I think
I like a lot of romantic comedies too. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another like embarrassing. I like Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. That's a movie I always like.
First time I saw Josh Duhamel. For me, at least.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't
Space
have to defend that one that much, though.
Yeah, especially like if you're talking to somebody who likes rom-coms. That's a tough one to argue.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jesse, again, thanks so much for coming on with us, man. Everybody out there listening, go check out Locke Key season 1 now on Netflix, and season 2 just got greenlit. So great news, because when you see how season 1 ends, you're going to be like, that's it, but it's not it. And before we let you go, Jesse, anywhere that people can find you online, or anything about upcoming projects we should be looking out for? I know there's not a lot you can say, especially during the quarantine period.
Right. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not good at either of them. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see a lot of hot Survivor takes. In fact, I'm excited because the big finale is tonight. So,
nice.
On Twitter, I'm at Jesse115115. You'll see I'm really not kidding. Lots of Survivor talk. And on Instagram, I'm under Jesse JD Camacho, because my full name is Jesse John David Camacho. And just looking forward to getting out there for season 2. Hopefully, we won't have to wait too long, but also as long as it's safe. So happy to. It's a small price to pay if we just have to wait for a little while to do that. But no, other than that. Watch season 1 and enjoy, and let's see if you can see the ending coming.
You bet. All right, thanks again to Jesse Camacho from Netflix's Locke Key. The next part of our show is called our Protein Shake, where we go around and talk about what is in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. I have 5 things, but one of them is Locke Key season 1, so why don't we just delete that from the list? Go watch that, please, because it's freaking awesome. And the other thing, actually, I won't even talk about, because check out our review of it, and that's The Last Dance, episodes 7 and 8. Go watch that as well, but after you watch Locke Key. So I have 3 things. How many things do you guys have, Nate?
I don't like lists. I have a phobia of them, so I don't have. One of these, but if I had to guess, it would probably be 4 to 5.
Okay. Geiger, how about you?
4. And let me say, after last week, I mean, it's like following up from Thriller. My protein shake last week was fucking out of control. It was almost too much.
Yeah, how do you top that? You almost have to do like an indie record after that.
I know. An acoustic.
Yeah, or like
something like
songs.
totally different than what
Unplugged.
I did.
I'm covering some music this time. It's not an original. Banner, how about you?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, but I know one of mine overlaps with you, so we'll say 3.5.
And you got one you want to talk about with Nate, I believe.
Yes, yeah, that was included in my number.
Okay, Geiger, why don't you go first? What's in your cup?
Been watching some comedies, guys. Some Will Ferrell comedies, but I see that these are kind of like dark tracks for him. And this other one he's barely in, but it's almost like a Chili Peppers album with Dave Navarro. Some people don't like it, and some people think it's like the greatest album the Chili Peppers ever did. The first one I'm going to do, which we all should watch before November, and that's The Campaign.
Love this movie.
I fucking love this fucking movie. In 2012, this came out, and we all thought, and if you watch also in my protein shake a couple weeks ago, Beyond the Shadows, that movie about how like the media basically kind of controls everything.
Was it Beyond or Out of the Shadows?
Out of the Shadows, excuse me. I don't even know what I watched. I watched it though.
Beyond the Shadows sounds like a PlayStation 2 game that I owned.
However, in 2012, this movie seemed ridiculous. Now I watch it and like Galifianakis is backed by this Goldman Sachs that basically just wants to bring China into North Carolina and just have slave working and all this stuff. And then Cam Brady is basically Trump. Like this is just how he is and stuff. It's fucking insane watching it now. I'm like, this is still funny, but it's not that far fetched how our politics are run now and how just insane you like know about some of these people. When Cam Brady finally just has enough and he decides to fuck his wife on camera and then does a campaign ad on it is like one of the hardest I've fucking laughed in probably about 8 months. It's like one of the funniest fucking things.
What's the line about Martin and Saddam Hussein? It's like, you know who else has a mustache?
So I wanted to bring that up, Jeff, because some of the people in this, Jason Sudeikis is in this, Rugrat from Wolf of Wall Street is in this. There are so many fucking great actors in this. Like
Stryker is in it.
Yeah, Stryker is Galifianakis' dad. James Lithgow's in it. Dan Aykroyd's in it. And to go to another, I think it's a Gary Sanchez production. To go to another one, I watched The Goods, which is another fucking movie I love. And when people talk about comedy movies, this is never brought up, and I think it's one of the greatest comedy movies I've ever fucking seen. Especially Will Ferrell's entrance at the end, where he's Abe Lincoln, and he's just like our deals, they're gonna come up behind you and blow your brains out. He jumps out of the plane and dies, trying to use a dildo to cushion his fall.
I hate to put this question out there, but is the description of the Nigerian buyback possibly the funniest line since we've been alive in a movie?
Probably.
Can you tell them what? Matt, can you tell them what a Nigerian buyback is at a used car dealership?
It's basically you put your you sell the car and then you buy back said car later at a markup.
So you show up to the dealership to sell your car and you leave with the same car, but you bought it back from them at more money.
Yeah, you basically went there and gave them $3,000 and then drove away. Is pretty much what you did.
And what does the guy say? He's like, I haven't seen that move in like 10 years.
Like, I haven't seen that move in a while. So another movie, Catherine Hahn, who's in Step Brothers and The Goods. This is on TV and I watched it. My wife's a big fan of it. I watched Bad Moms. This movie is bad.
The first one or the Christmas one?
The first one.
It's solid.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fine.
Have you ever seen it before?
I saw bits and pieces, never all the way through like I did. It's fine. I like it. There's a lot of I can't speak to this because I'm not a woman. I don't know if those jokes hit because some of the gross jokes, I don't know if women joke like that like men do, so I'm not sure. Like some of it I don't find funny. I find it gross, but I'm not a woman. It's not my demographic.
I do like how Catherine Hahn is trying to fuck every dad at the school. That's kind of
I like her. I liked Kristen Bell, and I mean Mila Kunis. I love her and fucking everything. And Christina Applegate's a guilty pleasure for me. I
love fucking her and everything too.
Yes, she is fucking hilarious. And the last thing I watched, which is on Fox Sports, and they've been showing a lot of these WrestleMania rewinds, Well, last night they had the famous WrestleMania 3, where Randy Macho Man Savage, in one of probably the greatest fucking matches ever, fights Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And that is when Hulk Hogan power slams Andre the Giant. I don't even believe we were born yet, I don't think, because this was like in 86, 85. But it's just kind of cool because you saw Hulk Hogan for the first time in my life ever come in as an underdog and was kind of playing that story, because after that match he never could before.
Was Andre the heel at that point?
Yes, and Andre basically was the greatest wrestler at that point, and he kind of passed the torch to Hogan. And it was, I mean, everyone has seen that slam. I don't know if anyone's ever watched the match, though. Don't recommend it. It's one of the worst matches.
And this is like 40 minutes long.
Yeah, and Hogan can't go 40. I mean, say what you want about Hogan. I'm not a big fan. I think Savage and Flair are way better wrestlers. I appreciate what he did, but man, he cannot put on a good match. He just can't. He's not built for that. Now, the Savage Steamboat before, I would put up there with like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels Iron Man match from WrestleMania 12. But just seeing the slam, because you're just waiting for the slam, it's really cool to watch it in real time. Kind of like, I'm sure we've seen a lot of boxing shit where like the guy got knocked out, but we never watched the full match. It was really cool to see, because it's probably one of the most iconic things ever to happen in wrestling history and probably sports entertainment history. So it was on the other night, so I'm like, I'm going to watch this match, and then halfway through, I'm like, God, just slam him.
Wait, so Fox Sports is replaying old WrestleManias? How the fuck did I not know this?
And then they want you to fucking pay $10 a month for the WWE Network. Why? You get old WrestleManias. Like, I've watched probably 8 of them during quarantine since this started.
There's some other things that you may be interested in watching on there, like professional rock skipping. Just a heads up.
Well,
God, save some pussy for the rest of us.
WWE's in bed with Fox, because SmackDown's on Fox now on Friday nights. So that's why
I didn't know they even had. Like you said though, it does kind of seem like they're cannibalizing their own streaming network to put that stuff on there. But
I mean, that's a Fox thing, so they're probably like, hey man, we can get you some advertisers maybe or something like that. But that was in my shake. I switched it to comedy, and then of course you always fall back to wrestling. You got to fall back to your roots.
Well, it's 2 weeks in a row that you have fucking brought the heat here. All right, Nate, we'll let you go next. What is in your cup, or what have you watched?
Thank you. So, Netflix in all of its glory, obviously, he starts recommending shit for me. The Jerry Seinfeld stand-up actually popped up on my screen the other night. I was bored and I watched it. Never been really that big of a Jerry Seinfeld fan. It's actually pretty good. And I think this may be pretty good in my eyes because I'm starting to get the humor that it's directed towards, especially in this stand-up. And there's a lot of old man angry humor in this. Not like Lewis Black angry, but like struggles with technology and all this kind of shit. It's actually really good. Highly recommend that. I was
what
never
year? Like
2020, 2019. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like new. Yeah. Brand new. I think he mentions his age in it. I think he's like 65 in it. 64.
Okay.
I don't know. It was either this year or last year, but I would definitely give it a whirl. I don't watch too many stand-ups, but that one popped up and thought I'd give it a whirl. But it's pretty funny with his struggles with technology and his view on like young people. And now that I'm getting into my adult years, not late adult years, I'm not that old, but I'm starting to realize some of the frustration of dealing with stupid people and stupid young people.
Nate, I hate to break this to you. I've known you for what, 15 years now, probably? You've been that way the entire time I've known you.
Yeah, probably.
You're not old enough to get Seinfeld humor, I don't think yet. I don't think I am either, but
it's funny.
Once again, I'm not a big Seinfeld fan at all. I'll watch it and I'll be like, I don't see what I think Home Improvement's a better show, and I know they're on at about the same time.
Yeah,
way better show.
That should be a testament to it. I mean, I've seen Seinfeld, maybe 10 episodes or so. I never like sat down and religiously watched it all, but his stand-up on Netflix is really solid, his newest one. So highly recommend that. Another thing, by the request of Banner, which I can't believe I hadn't seen this before, but
I'm shocked.
Me and the wife watched. Huh?
I said I was shocked.
Oh, yeah. I was shocked, too. Zootopia. Watched that the other night. It was delightful. And yeah, Jason Bateman was in it, and I obviously love Jason Bateman, Arrested Development, Ozark, all the great stuff he's been in. But I can't believe I hadn't seen that with him being one of like the main characters, but it was really good.
And that Shakira song is a banger.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's okay.
I listen to it every day on my way to work, guys. It gets me jacked up.
I want to hear Banner's like playlists at the gym because I know it's a lot of John Williams.
Banner, let's hear your going to work playlist.
So Drive to Work's about 3 songs long. First song is it's called What's Up Danger. It's from the Into the Spider-Man or Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. It's one of the songs on there. Then it's that Shakira song from Zootopia. Then it's Starships by Nicki Minaj. Don't judge me, guys. Don't judge me.
It
wakes me up.
Just Nicki Minaj or is someone else on that with her?
Nope, just her.
That's the one. Starships were meant to fly.
That's the one.
So random. We literally, me and Banner talked about this like 2 hours ago on his way home from work. I sent him some new requests. We're gonna see if they take. So he's gonna test them out. We're gonna see.
We'll update you guys next week.
Yeah,
I guess if I heard Starships at the end of my drive, I'd be like, well, work doesn't sound so bad now.
It's all about perception, guys. All about perception.
Zootopia is really good. Actually has some like pretty. I mean, I know like Disney and Pixar and stuff. They'll put in like adult jokes. Like this actually had like an adult theme in it, which is kind of crazy, like segregation and discriminating against people and things like that in like the main Zootopia. It was like crazy. Like I was like watching, I was like, shit, they're like getting like serious on this, like refusing service at like these restaurants and things. Like, damn.
Well, we don't serve sloths here.
Yeah, basically. I was like, I know what you're trying to say, Disney. I know where you're going with this.
Still.
What's that?
So I was no.
He shook off the catcher. He's like, that could get the out, but we're not throwing that here.
It could also get me suspended.
I wanted to throw it high and tight, but I'm like, you know what?
Henrik's at home like, just fucking say it, man.
So I've got 2 more, and I'll leave my crossover one with Banner for the last one, so we can kind of segue into his. But second to last is, I think last Sunday Sunday before last was the season finale for season 3 of Westworld. So I know even people on this pod have kind of gone off the Westworld train after the disaster of season 2. What?
I said who?
You.
All
Me.
3 of us.
Everyone has.
Oh, who, like the way Rasheed Wallace says.
Yeah.
Who?
God damn it. Okay, I didn't pick up on the sarcasm. My bad.
I didn't either.
But yeah, season 1, awesome. Season 2, confused as shit, didn't know what was going on. Season 3 totally redeems itself.
Like True Detective.
Rents a moped and takes you to Aspen.
Do you have to watch season 2 to watch season 3?
See, that's a big question I've gotten talking to people, and I think you can get away with just picking up on season 3 and going through. I think you can do it. I don't think
That's
there's
a
too
game
many.
changer. That's a game changer.
That
I don't think there's too many things that you get hung up on.
That's why True Detective's so great, because they're like, season 2 sucks. I'm like, dude, you don't even have to watch a second of season 2. And you can watch the Marshall Ali one.
And then season 3 gives you that like little subtle tie-in to McConaughey and Harrelson, and you're like, God, you guys just fucking know how to work me, don't you?
Yeah, so there's a few things that tie into season 2, but like very little. Like even some of the things that go into season 2, I think some of that was even tied back into season 1, and you kind of get the idea. But the whole theme of season 3 is completely different, and like the objective of the characters is way different too. So I would say if you were thrown off by season 2, jump in on season 3, start it. The ending was great too. It sets up great for next season. So highly recommend that to any of the people who were kind of thrown off.
So I'm guessing season 3 isn't better than season 1. How comparable would you say it is? Because season 1, the reason I stopped is it was like one of the best seasons of TV I ever watched, and it ended like in a very satisfying way. They teased season 2, but I was like, but I'm happy walking away right now. Which is
I still say season 1 is better, but season 3 is right up there. I wouldn't put it ahead.
Season 3 a Western.
There's no way.
It's got a mix. It's not as westerny as you would probably like. No.
Fuck.
And Matt, I didn't watch it, but the way season 1 ended, I would guess you would hate season 2 because they were setting up like all the other worlds in the park.
Yeah, I know. I watched 2 episodes and then I just kind of put my hand up in the air and said, no, thank you.
I just carried on living my life.
Yeah. Kind of carried on living my life pretty much.
All right, and then the last thing I have here, my protein shake, which I'm embarrassed to say I watched.
I'm not.
And I'm embarrassed to say I watched because I also watched another show similar to this that Banner got me into, Love is Blind, which
Banner's like the guy selling death sticks in episode 2. Hey, want another shitty Netflix dating show?
Yeah.
Here you go.
So,
I got you.
Spoilers, Too Hot to Handle, if anyone's seen that on Netflix. And God damn it, if it's not just one of those that you start watching it, it's like a fucking train wreck and you want to see all the carnage at the end. God,
So
it is
let's
insane.
tell them what the premise is. All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, they take 10 slut bags, half guys, half girls, throw them in a house together for like 36 hours, and basically say, go crazy, have sex, do whatever you want. Then they drop a bomb on them and say, hey, all of you guys are terrible human beings. We're going to try and change you. You cannot touch anybody. Like, they're trying to help them develop deeper relationships and just not be fucking dumb people. And they're not allowed to touch. There is $100,000 in a pot. Every time they touch, money gets taken out of the pot. So they may be left with zero.
Person, I'd be like, screw that. I'm just gonna fuck everything that moves.
Well, that's the thing too. They didn't tell them. Spoilers. They didn't tell them at the beginning that the 100,000 was going to be split between all of them. They thought there was going to be one winner.
Yeah, 10,000 a person, and like I've seen some of the chicks on this show. I'd be like, no thanks.
And since they're British, they'd be like, oh, for 10 quid, forget that. Look at all these birds on this island.
It's only about £1.
That equates to about £1 for 10 quid.
Chicks weighing about 2 stone right now.
Are you taking a piss? Game show. Are you taking a piss?
So yeah, it's kind of funny hearing some of their banter, as they call it, back and forth. Yeah. Especially, I think it's like 50%. No, it's not 50% British.
Is there one American guy who's like, I don't know what the fuck anyone's saying?
No.
There's a couple of times where they look at him and you can tell, like, they're like, I don't know what you said, but I'm gonna just kind of nod my head.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
I literally did that to my wife half an hour ago, though, and she speaks perfect English, so I don't know what you're saying.
But yeah, the ending was actually kind of disappointing to me, but
very lackluster. It was a really good middle of the season. Like the first couple episodes, they reel you in. You're like, what a complete fucking mess. Then the middle, I'd say like, I think it's 9 episodes. I'd say episode like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 are all pretty good because they're still hoe bags at the end of the day, but they're trying to pretend that they're not, and it's extremely entertaining. And obviously they lose money. I mean, that's a given. Yeah, and then how mad happens. The other people get that they lost money because those people had sex and they didn't get to.
It's like giving up drinking, right? Like it's easy to do the morning that you're hungover. Then the second your boys are like, hey man, you want to go out to the bar? You're like, oh, fuck. You see the guy like, I honestly don't think that I'll ever look at another bird again. You know, I think I'm over it entirely. Woman walks by. I mean, but nothing's forever. You know, we're not chiseling it into stone. You know.
That's a great accent. I love it.
Let's just keep doing the show like that.
Okay, let me get your take real quick because I haven't seen either of these. If you said right now, okay, Horns, you got to watch The Circle or Too Hot to Handle, Nate, what would you go with? Which one did you like more?
You're gonna have to default to Banner because I didn't watch The Circle. I watched Love Is Blind.
Okay.
That's okay. The one I meant. I'm sorry. The one where they're behind like the screen and they can't see it.
That's Love Is Blind.
I don't want to say like either one of these shows has substance, but that one has a little more substance.
Why don't you just tell him to go read a book or walk outside? Like that's better for him, really, as a human.
Like, I halfway enjoyed Love Is Blind. Like, Too Hot to Handle was just too over the top.
It's like if you could keep my name off of both of these, though, it would be.
So, here's my assessment. I agree. I think Love Is Blind was better. I think Too Hot to Handle had more potential, and that's because Netflix wants to do these reality shows, and it's just like The Circle. the problem with these reality shows is that you have to do it in more than 8 or 10 episodes because you have to show those relationships being developed and you have to show that drama happen instead of telling us that it happened. And they're just not long enough seasons. That's the problem with Too Hot to Handle. It's just not long enough. We need it to be a little bit longer.
Just not long enough, isn't it?
Ain't it?
Bit.
I do respect, like, we talk about Netflix trash, and a lot of times we're referring to, like...
Look, they're trying, okay?
No, that's what I'm saying. We were referring to those rom-coms they throw out, like, every 11 minutes. But I at least like that their reality shows, they put, like, an absolutely ridiculous spin or premise on all of them. Which is, like, eventually, it's like darts. You throw enough against the corkboard, one of them's going to hit in the bullseye.
I never played dots.
What I really want is them to do what Barney and Marshall did on How I Met Your Mother. Bring Matt Geiger in, have him be the offensive coordinator. There's an earpiece in the guy's ear, and he just tells the guy what to say the whole date.
I turned an MTV show like that.
I honestly would like one with a bunch of in-shape, six-pack, CrossFit-looking fucking dudes that are competing against a girl that's not pretty at all, just to show that guys will just compete against anything. That was my dream all the time.
That's
so
you
true.
can't really do that with women because the man might be rich or something, so that counts.
You remember Joe Somebody? Do you remember that show where the guy, like, they pretended he was like the heir to
He
Somebody?
was like a construction worker. Yeah, I watched that one too.
And then the girl had an out though. She was like, "Well, it has nothing to do with the money, but like he lied to me."
She's not wrong.
Sure, honey.
I know, and I'm like, "You're giving her an out."
Yeah.
All right, Banner, what's in your cup?
All right, so obviously I had Too Hot to Handle. We all know me. If there's multiple movies, I have to watch them both. Watch Rio and Rio 2.
There's a Rio 2.
Yeah, it's not.
Is this the
great.
Jesse Eisenberg?
Yes. And Jesse Eisenberg, Anne Hathaway. Leslie Mann is in it. The first one's fine. It's okay. Music's not bad. Lots of colors. The second one is just stupid. It's all that there is to it.
Banner's reviewing it as Baby Banner. Lots of colors.
Lots of colors.
I mean, that's really all there is to say.
I mean, it was fine. It was a good, entertaining night.
Although I feel like when Banner takes an edible, though, him and Baby Banner are like working with the same sensory.
Look,
the same colors in the crayon box.
She's on to something. She's a great critic when it comes to the colors and stuff. I mean, I don't know. She's good at what she does. She's good at what she does.
So Rio 2, is it just Eisenberg that comes back? Like none of the other?
No, they got everybody to come back.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean,
There's
Rio
way
was...
that made money then.
I highly doubt it. Highly
Are these
doubt
Disney
it.
properties?
No, these are Universal? Maybe?
That'll come
No.
Right.
Sony. They're Sony.
Mm.
Sony, like,
Someone at home is
Illumination or whatever.
screaming, "You're fucking whatever they are."
Yeah.
Can we mark that so every time we talk about a Universal movie, we're like, Banner, what movie is this? He's like, Universal? That was the greatest question mark answer
11
you've ever given
seconds
in
to
your
say
life.
Universal.
Like, what confidence in that answer?
Yeah, we need some more drops on this thing.
If that was like your phone a friend in Millionaire, you'd be like, "Well, I'm fucked."
Are you sure?
Universal?
I would call Banner on Millionaire. He'd be like, "Oh, dude, I am so high." I was like, "I told you I was going to be on this show."
I
I just had to calm down for you. I was
Banner
nervous.
would be like, "That's tonight."
Like, Banner, I'm on the show right now. Really? I'm watching Rio 2. You said it wasn't that good. I decided to give it another shot.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
what's your
growing
question?
on me. What's the question, bro? Hope it's about Rio 2.
But you guys know me. I will somehow pull that random. Oh shit! I spilled beer on my keyboard.
Oh,
Wow.
No, but he will pull random.
This is a man that's watched Rio 2, but has not seen A Few Good Men, Nate Thurman, which begs the question why we even take his consideration on this pod. I have no clue.
Banner, speak
What?
for yourself.
He gives us a nice
Look,
opinion.
I just diversity, guys.
What are you talking about? There's African Americans in A Few Good Men. That makes no
he
sense.
meant he's
No, I
diversifying
meant
his
like I
movie
watched.
collection.
Yeah, I watched different
Oh.
movies. So we have more to talk about.
This has nothing to do with an old wooden ship.
If I can interject here, actually, I believe diversity is. All right,
No.
so Banner, would you recommend Rio or Rio 2?
Rio, yes. Rio 2, probably not. Maybe not. This is what Baby Banner
We'll go with
does
a
when she
hard
doesn't
no.
like something. Maybe not.
By the way,
Or
stay
no.
tuned. We might have a segment that involves Baby Banner in the coming months
Maybe.
to help
Or-
recommend to your
or-
kids movies.
Yeah, we may be
Is she gonna
working
watch
something.
A Few Good Men and review it since her father won't?
Maybe. That's an idea right there.
We
Look,
want
we're
our
just
kids to be
whiteboarding it
better
right
than
now,
us.
okay? We're whiteboarding it. And that's all that I had that doesn't cross over to you. I think Thurman, you watched this also, and Jeff, I know
Yeah.
you watched it.
I can end with it, or we can do it right now. Actually, just do it right now.
All right, the Disney sing along, the second one.
Yep.
Did we even talk about the first one?
I don't
didn't.
think so. And I got to thank Nate because for some reason I thought it was on at 7.
I did too. I missed it. I had to wait till the next day to watch it.
Well, and he texted me. He was like, "Oh, you would have liked the intro to this," and I was like, "What the fuck? It was on at 6."
Yeah.
Why do they put something like that on at 6?
Because it's for kids.
Kids
Their
stay up
bedtimes are late.
past 6.
But
Well-
it's 7 in New York.
Just-
8.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
7 or 8? 7. Hour
But
difference.
yeah, the opening was built for horns here.
I mean, Kermit
5
and
o'clock
Seth Rogen-
California. Dad'd be like, I gotta get off work early. It's sing-along night on Disney.
The dad from Angels in the Outfield wouldn't have even pulled up in his Harley yet. But yeah, Nate, Kermit and Seth Rogen opened it up. Pretty strong opening, right?
Yep. Yep, very strong.
I think this one was stronger overall, top to bottom, than the first one.
100%. And I have a few notes I want to talk about.
And
that.
Josh Gad was even still in this, and that automatically takes it from an A to a C.
Let me just put him on the back burner for 1 second. Guys, can we just... I've had my fill of Ryan Seacrest in life. Can we just get rid of him?
How is he so popular?
Can we bring the other guy that used to host American Idol with him back?
I'll take anybody. I mean...
Him and Chris, whoever from The Bachelor, are who I strive to be. They're not
Chris
talented.
Harrison.
No one really knows what they do. But, God, they make
Chris-
a ton of money.
And Chris Harrison actually likes to play golf. He's a pretty good golfer.
Dude,
All right.
you know Harrison the whole time while they're in fucking that, awesome island wherever there are. He's playing 18 holes, and whenever he fucking does a rose ceremony, he's getting the scraps. You know that.
Oh, for
Chris
sure.
Harrison has a great life.
Yeah, he's
Dude.
cleaning that up.
Fuck the scraps. He's probably getting the pick of the litter.
I guarantee you he's like working on his short game in his back of his hotel, and chick comes up and is like, "Hey, I got a question about Peter." He's like, "Yeah, go ahead, shoot." By the way, is this breaking to the left to you, or am I just pulling it?
By the way, you should date Mason Rudolph. Anyway, I'm chipping out of this semi-rough.
Wow, great call out.
One other thing that I want to bring up. This got me really excited for the Little Mermaid live-action movie, and also I want to go back and rewatch it because I'm not a huge Rebel Wilson fan, and I know Matt despises her, but her rendition of Poor Unfortunate Souls was really good.
Fantastic.
Poor Unfortunate Souls. I was like, dude, this movie's darker than I remember. Like, Ursula making her sign that fucking contract. As a kid, you're like, don't do it. I didn't even know.
But now you know what contracts actually hold you to, and now you're like, don't fucking do it.
That's why
Cycling-
Dak's waiting so much. He wants to make sure he's got the right one.
Yeah, exactly.
He's seen
Dax-
Little Mermaid.
He's seen Little Mermaid. Dax knows what the fuck is up. And then Halsey singing Part of That World was great,
It was
too.
really, really good.
Yeah,
That was maybe my...
good.
I liked Christina Aguilera and is it Miguel?
Sure, man.
Whatever that guy's name is, singing
Manuel.
"Remember Me" from Manuel. That's it, from Coco. I thought that was fantastic.
Not to get off on a tangent, but Coco, very underrated Disney movie.
Yes.
Is
Great
that
movie.
one still on Netflix, or has that made the move to Disney Plus? Because I know it was on Netflix for a long time.
I've seen it recently. Like I've seen
Yeah.
like the picture of it, but
It's either Netflix or Disney Plus.
my streaming device jumped so much I have no idea what's anything anymore.
It's a blur.
Yeah, you just go through Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu. You go jumping back to HBO Go. I don't know.
Any other performances you guys want to highlight? I thought, like Banner said, there was noticeably a little more lip syncing in this one, which it's whatever. I'm not gonna fucking nitpick, but like it was a thing.
I was just gonna pinpoint and point out how hot Derek Huff's wife, girlfriend, fiance is,
and how they just completely like will not acknowledge her.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that? They were like, "Oh, Derek and his girlfriend," and then on like when they scroll across to say who's in it, she's not even noticed.
I feel like she's
an
like
object.
a pretty accomplished dancer too, isn't she?
I would assume
She seems
so.
more talented than his ass, but
Yeah.
that's where I would just walk up to her at the bar and be like, "Look, I'm sorry you have to live in Derek's shadow. It's not right."
The closing scene with them and Julianne Hough and everything, like, it was actually pretty cool production. Like, I'm sure they had to like improvise with like the props and everything in their house and everything, but it was like really high energy and everything. It was good.
I was a little drunk when I was watching with my fiance, and when Ryan Seacrest is like, "Let's go back to Julianne Hough," and I said out loud, I was like, "Yes, she can dump you again."
Oh,
Roasted. Because Ryan Seacrest sucks. And what was Julianne Hough thinking?
I don't
just
know.
looking for that money.
Okay, so here, how about this? If you were stuck in a room, would you rather be Ryan Seacrest or Josh Gad?
Seacrest.
What's the line from The Office, Matt? If I was in a room with Hitler, Bin Laden, and Toby, and I had 2 bullets, I'd shoot Toby twice.
I shoot Toby twice.
What's the equivalent of that to this?
I would probably rather be in there Seacrest, because Seacrest has a chance to bring in chicks. Gad doesn't.
And Gad would be trying to make his fucking voices and everything. And just be like, dude, no. We're dying in this room. Keep it up.
What if there's a British Josh Gad?
It'd be
How
like
terrible
that
would that
Adam
be?
Sandler Saturday Night Live where he's like, "Give me cancer now, God."
What a great reference. Give me cancer now, God.
Sick reference, dude. Your references are always fucking
Everyone knows that. This is the end. Underrated movie. All right, anything else in your cup, Banner?
Nope, that's it.
Mine will go really quick. Matt and I watched Little Big League and did a movie commentary on it, which is going to be dropping July 4th, which, fingers crossed, knock on wood, sounds like we'll have Major League Baseball by then. Little Big League, if you don't remember, people at home, it's the movie from, is it 92? When is it?
94.
94, where the kid manages the Minnesota Twins.
Totally could happen.
Totally could happen, dude.
I mean, I'm just saying they made the playoffs. They might be onto something.
Well,
one game
playoff. You're gonna put a banner up for that?
They
You're the
got
Twins
there
in the
without
90s,
trash
probably
cans.
If you want to crown their ass, crown their ass.
Take the damn field. Great quote, Nate.
And Billy Smollen's pretty thirsty, and Luke Hollins gives it to her, so that works. And Luke Hollins, that was back, I guess, right before steroids, because you had about 185 pounds first baseman hitting about 240 with, 18 home runs, Jeff?
Yeah.
95 RBI, maybe?
But then he started letting the ball get deep, and he hit 42 the next
But
year.
he's the leader on the field.
Yeah. I'm sorry he's seeing the ball well. Oh,
You gotta let him play.
Exactly. Last thing I watched, I don't want to say much about this. I was thoroughly disappointed in this, but the series Little Fires Everywhere on Hulu.
Now, who does that have in it?
Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon.
Although,
Although, I do have to say, Matt, Joshua Jackson, Charlie Conway is Reese Witherspoon's husband in it. He's a huge character in this.
About time.
And he's good in it. But this show, man, so my
Is he
fiance...
Conway good?
He's not Nothing's Conway good.
Come on, Banner.
I'm
Put
just
some
making
respect
sure.
on the name.
Like Daniel Day-Lewis, was he Last of the Mohicans good? Like, oh, no.
So the book, this is based on a book. My fiance read the book and said they change up so many major plot points that it's almost a joke that they always change things from the book, but we're talking like major, major things. And basically this show, I won't spoil anything, but every single person in this show is a fucking horrible person. They're the worst. And there's a huge, like, we don't get political on the show. There's a huge racial component to this show that's added that's not in the book that really just detracts from a great narrative in this and doesn't end up going anywhere. So I'm going to give Little Fires Everywhere like one of the worst scores that I could give anything. I mean, do not watch this, dude. And I'm
Wow.
shocked 'cause I love Kerry Washington. And
How many episodes is it?
I think it's 8, but they're like a legit hour. It was like the whole time we were going through it, I was like, all right, you're setting up a lot of good plot threads. Where's this going to go? And in the end, they tie everything up in kind of an interesting way, but it's just such a fucking downer.
Isn't
dude.
that the worst when they're like a kid and they just put something all around the room? Like, oh, this could be interesting. They just forgot where they put everything. They don't tie anything together.
I
Yes,
hadn't
you-
I haven't heard of it described that way, but that is exactly Game of Thrones season 8.
Yes.
Yeah, fortunately, this was only one season of build-up. Yeah, this never even had like the glory days that Game of Thrones had. Basically, I would recommend reading the book, though. From what I haven't personally read it, but my fiance loved it, and she was like really upset with the way the show ended. So,
What's it called? I'll read the book.
Little Fires Everywhere.
Nerd.
Nerd.
I'm just kidding.
Banner loves to be the guy sipping coffee, being like, not as good as the book. Not as good as the book, man. Fucking sucks compared to the book.
It's one of my favorite pastimes.
You love being that guy.
Not as good as Starships by Nicki Minaj.
What a great callback.
All right, Banner. Before we
I
get to the
deserve
last
that.
part of our before we
I
get to the
deserve
last
that.
part of our show, I know you said you had a question that you wanted to ask everybody.
Yeah, I just had a question for everybody.
He like snapped your neck and attacked your microphone. The last part of our show is our question and answer segment called "Do You Even Lift, Bruh?" All right, today's question. Matt might not have a hot take on this, but I miss the old Geiger where he would get really fucking upset. But this is basically what's happened the last week. So Universal Studios, who released Trolls World Tour on VOD after theaters closed, came out with a statement this past week after the movie was revealed to be profitable and said that when theaters reopen, they plan to be releasing their films both theatrically and on video on demand for opening weekend. Now, just as a little reminder, some Universal properties include The Fast and the Furious, Jurassic Park, James Bond, etc. Now, after hearing this statement, AMC Theaters said, fuck off. I'm paraphrasing.
Verbatim.
We are not playing any Universal movies in our theaters at all if you're going to also release them on video on demand. Regal Cinemas came out shortly after and said same thing. If you're going to put them on VOD, they're not going to be playing at our theaters. So what we have to ask now, obviously I think we're probably about a month or two away from theaters reopening. Christopher Nolan still claims Tenet coming out in July will be there. But we have to ask, who is going to blink first? Is this just posturing? What happens? Nate, we'll go to you first. Universal versus, I guess, AMC, Regal, like half the big theater chains right now. How do you think this plays out?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty confident how this is going to play out. I think the theaters are going to blink first. They've been losing revenue left and right the past couple months. And so even if these are going to video on demand or however they're releasing them and then releasing theatrically as well, even if their margins are lower, they're not bringing as much revenue. You have to look at it as strictly business standpoint. Any money they can bring in at all is going to be better than what they were doing the past couple of months. They're going to blink and say, we need this money, bottom line. They're going to allow these movies in at some point. They're going to have to fold before any of the movie companies do.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Banner, let me paint a picture to you because you're probably the best person to ask for this. So Trolls World Tour, let's forget about the extenuating circumstances of like the lockdown. The reason I think that works better, you as a parent, it's easier for you to pay $20 for a 48-hour rental than it is to find time to get your family out to the theater, concessions, all that for a kids movie, right?
100%. And
But at the same time,
and here's the thing, even if you extend that to like the Jurassic Park or the Fast and the Furious franchises, that model still fits because I could put Baby Banner down at 8:00 at night for bed, and then me and the missus can still rent a brand new movie like we're going to the theaters, pop our own popcorn and eat it, but we don't have to find a babysitter and go through that whole, horse and pony show just to watch a movie. We can still watch a new movie, and the theaters are going to lose here. Bottom line, they don't make money off of the movies being there anyway. They make the money off the concessions.
Yep. The theaters do, correct. But how do you get the concessions? People go see the big movies. Really quickly, my theory is Universal will maintain they should do family movies, VOD, and theaters for your case point. But you can't do Fast and Furious, James Bond, and Jurassic Park VOD because you'll rent it and tell all 6 of us to come over and watch it. Whereas if Universal put it in theaters, I saw Endgame twice in that 3-day weekend.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Well, then, yeah, I mean, you have to release the big movies in the theaters anyway, because I'm not as big of a moviegoer as everyone else, but there are certain movies that I will go to the theater to see because of the cinematic situation I'm going to be put in, and the big screen, and the good sound system, and all that kind of stuff. So action movies, I mean, I go see every Star Wars, obviously, in the theater once it comes out, because I want to see it in a theater environment. Now, I think this goes along with what Horns is saying. Like, keep on releasing the children-driven movies like VOD and in theater, but there's going to have to be certain ones that they release just in theater for sure.
Yeah, like Scoob is coming out this weekend on VOD. I'm going to want to watch Fast and Furious in the theater experience.
Yeah.
And Jurassic Park, obviously. Now, I just think Universal loses money if they also offer that on VOD. The huge, like, tentpole films. So that's where I think they'll blink.
But I think they would make up for. I think Universal would make up for it in the kids' movies.
But that's what I'm saying. If they can get the best of both worlds, they can do kids' movies VOD where they would make the most profit, and the tentpoles just in theaters where they make the most profit. Win.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of in the middle.
Geiger, what do you think?
So all of you are wrong.
Of course.
But
thank you.
Yes.
But all of you are right too. This is where I'm going to get into. I love going to the fucking theater. Love it. I love on a Friday knowing that I just got 8 more hours of bullshit to deal with at work. I love going home. Me and my wife are planning on what we're going to get to eat, and then go to the theaters, get some popcorn, I get some fucking beer, and go see a movie that I've been nowadays looking at coming out for maybe 2 years now, because there's been teaser trailers and all this fucking shit. Now, I don't plan to play a doctor. I'm not a doctor. And I'm not going to get into all the COVID shit. And obviously, some of these people on TV aren't really doctors either, because they're getting it all wrong too. And there's some people that don't feel comfortable going to the theaters. There's some people, like Banner says, that have kids that maybe don't feel comfortable, or it's fucking hard to bring a kid to a theater. I think they should be able to get movies online that are coming out just like Trolls. However, AMC needs to fucking make a buck, and we need to still have theaters, guys. Let's fucking be honest, because there's something special seeing a fucking movie on opening weekend in theaters around a bunch of people drinking beer, so then we can go out, you go into the AMC bar and talk about the fucking movie with other people you don't know. That's fucking fun. Now, if you don't feel comfortable, I think that they should be able to fucking stay home and rent this movie, because they, depending on their situation, just like no one knows the situation I'm in. I don't know the situation the listener's in right now. I don't know if they've lost their job, or I don't know if they have a grandmother they want to take care of. But they should be allowed that theater experience as well, if it's even on their own fucking couch, drinking their own beer, eating their own food. But I think AMC, because they've done so much for these movies, need to have their own app to stay at home, and then they get money that way. Because AMC needs fucking money, because we need our theaters. We can't have our theaters be locked down, guys. We just can't. And I don't care if you think that theaters are a dangerous place. You don't have to go, but the people that do want to go, they need theaters to go to because they feel safe going there. Or they, maybe aren't in the, or they might fucking work at the theater, or they might work for a movie studio that they want to support it. But the people that want to stay at home, they should have that option too. But AMC should be making money from both of them, because AMC is the reason Universal's so fucking big, because AMC and every other theater was what carried the first Jurassic Park and all that shit. And that's the reason why they made it so big. So they need to help them out now the way AMC helped movies out back in the 80s and 90s, is my opinion. And you should have both options.
I will say this.
Because this is America. You should be able to sit at home or go out, and I'm running for president.
I will say this. I do hope,
unless I get drunk tonight and forget.
I do hope that when these theaters open, because there is going to be a gap between like when they open and like the new releases, I think it would be really cool to release like classic movies, and then like, dude, if they even did a double feature like Infinity War, Hour Intermission, and Endgame in like June, I would be fucking there to help support these theaters. You know what I'm saying?
I talked to my wife and I'm like, they open theaters where we're at, but none of them are opening because where are they going to play? But you have Pulp Fiction on tonight, I'd probably go. Or you have fucking like an old, some old fight like John Wayne movie, dude. I guarantee you, me and Thurman would be there drinking beer, watching a John Wayne movie in theaters. It'd be fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And even if it's like 20% capacity to help you make your money, I will order enough beer to help you out.
Yeah, but me and Thurman, we are healthy young males that don't live with anyone older. We don't have kids or anything, so we feel comfortable going. But if you don't, you should be able to have the AMC app where you should be able to, if Fast and Furious is coming out this Friday, Thursday night at midnight, you should be able to fucking get that and pay for it and have AMC get it. Maybe that's the new way that our theaters are on every street corner because people that want to go to theaters can go, but if they want to stay home, they're still giving money to AMC. I don't know how to do the concession stand though. You can't have a popcorn vendor go around every street corner. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to pay a premium for having it on the app.
Yeah, and I think people have been understanding, like, if you get it on VOD, it's going to be $20 to $30. It has to be.
Yes.
Like, it's not like people are like, well, why the fuck isn't this like $3? Like,
but you shouldn't. But Universal shouldn't be selling their soul to somebody that's never helped them before. I mean, these theaters have helped them for years. Theaters need to make their own apps, and that's where the movie should go first. And then 2 weeks after it's released, maybe then they can go to VOD or some other streaming service.
But I get where the theaters are pissed because Universal is basically saying, like, well, we're gonna do like. The reason Trolls World Tour made money is because of these crazy fucking circumstances. Not because you can release every movie on VOD and make more money. Because how much did I pay? I saw Endgame 3 times in theaters. I paid at least $20 a ticket, averaging out IMAX and all that. So they made $60 off me alone, not counting the person I went with each time. If I can buy it on VOD for $20 and watch it for 2 days, you're not making near as much money off me.
Well, and I don't know the answer to this question, Jeff, and some people will write articles saying they do, but they don't fucking know either. If say Jurassic World 3 came out this weekend and they put it on VOD and in theaters, what would make more? I mean, me and my wife would probably go, but Bear and his wife, they'd be like, you know what, we're gonna go. Wait, the kid's sick. Okay, we'll put the kid down, then we'll get it on VOD. I don't know what Thermal will do. I don't know what you'll do. I don't know what Cycly will do. I have no fucking clue until you're in that situation. Obviously, I'd love to go watch it in theaters, but some people have to have, certain circumstances fall in line for them to go to theaters, when at the end of the day, it's just easier to watch it on your TV and the theater experience is good. But both ways, I think theaters should be making money off of it.
And we know how it works. They're going to do whatever makes them more money at the end of the day, which is the theater experience. It's a model that's worked for the last 50 years. All right. Great work, fellas. Before we let everybody go, parting thoughts. Nate Thurman, the ultra comfortable looking. You look like Joe Namath in that. What was the ad where he was it shaving cream where he's in his
Brute?
Brute body spray. That's what it is.
Brute body spray. We're just going with a Tom Selleck lay down here, naked, on a bearskin rug.
You're fully clothed.
Hey, spoilers. Don't ruin it for the people. Really, last thing I touch on is I would really, highly recommend going out and watching, not going out and watching, that sounds stupid, going and watching Locke Key on Netflix. Very impressed with everything. The acting in it, the special effects in it, the story. I'm really excited, truly am excited about the second season. So hopefully we can get through this pandemic and they can start shooting that so we can have some more to talk about on that one.
Hell yes. Banner.
I actually have something a little different tonight. She's never going to know that I said this because she doesn't listen, but I want to thank Mrs. Banner. She lets me get hammered once a week and talk to my friends. And how many wives? Well, obviously there's 3 others right here that their wives let them do it too. But I still feel like it's a really small percentage.
You drink while you do this podcast?
Wow. Sacrilegious.
No, we are lucky in that regard. Definitely.
Yeah, like all the Bro Force Squad wives, they are our heroes because
I really wanted them to do. This was Geiger's idea, but
My wife just said from the other room, "Oh, that's sweet."
Didn't we? Hey, we need them to do a Broback review of Ocean's 8.
Oh wow.
Or Bad Moms.
But Ocean's 8 is better because they like take the all-male cast and they.
Oh yeah, just make it their own.
Let's get something together on that. I think that'd be hilarious.
No, seriously, like these four, let's get them involved.
Like
Guys, I feel like it's a trap though. I feel like they're
Admiral
gonna start
Akbar, he's on
talking
my
about.
team, dude.
I've offered you that trade though. Okay.
if Miss
Remember when we thought it was fun when there was just our girlfriend? Remember?
I said if we get Miss Thurman on here and start drinking, she doesn't have a filter and she may say worse things than me, so I can't make any promises.
She has an alias. She's safe. What do you say?
Yeah.
Well, remember when we thought it was cool when they were just our girlfriends and they'd stay over and then they kind of slept over and kind of lived there? They take everything from us. I don't know if it's a good idea to let them on the pod.
I'd be willing to risk one episode.
I'm
like my wife just will just stay at my house for years.
What's her
and
deal?
not leave.
We log on. It's like, why do we have 4 more episodes recorded? They're like, yeah, all the girls just kind of got together and we had some cool ideas.
I think you guys are gonna like it.
All right, Geiger.
I had an idea. What if Banner put a shirt on? I'm like, well, okay, now that just sounds crazy.
No,
Listen to yourself.
It's the Bride Force Squad.
Damn, that's good.
God damn.
What?
Where'd that come from?
Someone write that down. Who has a pen?
Well,
Nobody.
we're recording this, so I don't think we have to write it down. And we're dropping it today.
All right, Matt, closing thoughts.
Yeah, would you guys think less of me or take my man card if I told you I've been listening to the band Train a lot? And they've actually got some good shit, some dark tracks.
What do they have besides Drops of Jupiter that I might like?
Their first album, I love listening to bands' first albums. Their first album's really like pop rock. Kind of like Maroon 5 before they're like, hey, you're a sex symbol and you just have to sing chick songs from now on. But their first album fucking is good. You should try it. It has Meet Virginia as the first.
That's a Train song?
Damn right it is. Train's got some good tunes. Hey Soul's Sister is one of theirs.
That sounds familiar. I don't know the tune, but the
Hey
title
Soul
sounds.
Sister. Hey, Mr.
Yeah.
Miss on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're not that bad, man.
Based on just the two
I
you
wouldn't
said.
say it before I got in a fight or anything, but
Yeah, them's fighting words. They probably made a shit ton of money. Their shit's in a lot of movies now that just the two you mentioned. I've heard that in a ton of films.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right, good. I'm glad I'm in a safe place.
There you go.
I'm scared to ask that.
That's like, it's comforting that I can share my love of Train's first album. Now, their third album, you can fuck right off if you think that's good. All right, for the American hero Nate Thurman, the mad scientist Brian Banner, and our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger, I'm Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Follow us on Twitter at Bro4Squad. Type in Bro4Squad as 3 separate words on Letterboxd, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and you'll find us there. And I know you have the internets. Go to Bro4Squad.com. You'll find all of our content there. Till next time, we will see you later.
Please pull over for emergency vehicles.
I was going to say, you do need to mention that. Like, what if
Jupiter in her hair.
Get your pets spayed and neutered?
No, let your pets
No,
fuck.
no.
Let your pets fuck everything that moves.